A lot of people in Southern California are worried tonight about Trump and his immigration policies. KCAL9 political reporter Bryan live in downtown LA, where one of LA's most influential civil rights groups is holding its biggest event of the year. Dave?
That's right, Lena. We're just a few blocks, actually, from where the Trump immigration protests are taking place. But here the event is being held by MALDEF, one of the most powerful and influential Latino rights groups in the country. And this is always a night of celebration. It's their annual gala to give prizes away to award winners. But this night, all the talk is about Trump and immigration here, too. This year, MALDEF's 2016 Los Angeles Awards Gala, always one of the most festive events of the year, had a bittersweet taste to many supporters. The fallout from the divisive 2016 presidential campaign and the ultimate election of Donald Trump.
I think that there is some fear, there is some dread.
I sense that in California, we need to contemplate the next 4 years with little or no help from the federal government.
That's scary. That has to be scary to every decent human being.
The fear of many people in LA's Latino community is that Trump will follow through with his campaign promises to deport undocumented immigrants who are in the country illegally, to dismantle Obamacare, and to cut funding for sanctuary cities.
We have a cause for concern here in California with people who could be drastically and negatively affected by his policy. At the swipe of a pen, he can rescind several executive orders that could undermine the health exchanges, that could rescind DACA. So there's a lot of anxiety in this community, and at events like this, people are talking about it.
The president of MALDEF, the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund, says if those cuts come, they'll be ready.
But we are getting prepared to undertake a number of legal challenges. Where there are legal challenges to be brought, we will be bringing them.
Those who are most fearful in many cases are young people.
If I get deported the day of tomorrow, I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere. I obviously have family, but I would feel lost.
It wouldn't be the first time. Twice in the 20th century, undocumented immigrants were deported in large numbers. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, called Mexican repatriation, and again in the 1950s, called Operation Wetback. Former California Congressman Esteban Torres was only 3 years old when his family was deported.
It left me with a taste of how cruel authorities can be.
One of the honorees at the Thursday night MALDEF event says plenty of damage has already been done, stereotyping all Latinos as illegal immigrants and discriminating accordingly.
As a woman, as a Mexican American, as I'm a fifth-generation American, but how do you tell that to the person who told me to go back to my country? That I am from this country. I don't think we should stand for that. I think it's somewhat always there, but not like this. Not where it's almost approved, by the leader of our nation. That's scary.
Now, some Trump supporters we talked to say that it's very clear that his first priorities are building the wall and securing the border. But they say when it comes to the issue of deportation, he has not outlined exactly how that would work, except to say he does intend to deport all those who are in the country illegally and are convicted of criminal offenses. They say the fears expressed tonight are way overblown at this time. Lena, back to you.